Welcome to the back office. I'm Dalayna Dillon, the founder and creative director of Signify Marketing, and this is where you sit in on real strategy. This month, though, is a special month for us at Signify because we're celebrating 5 years in business, and I am excited to bring these conversations with business owners who are building, learning, and figuring it out just like we have been the past 5 years. Today, I'm sitting down with Carrie Corcoran, keynote speaker, branding expert, and founder of Unbreakable Light. Carrie works with businesses to solve one of the biggest challenges they face: attracting and retaining quality talent. Today, we're talking about what's really going on behind the hiring struggles so many businesses are experiencing, and a lot of businesses are experiencing them. So, Carrie, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us because this is a problem so many businesses are facing, have faced. I think it's probably amplified. Have you seen that it's amplified in the post-COVID?
Oh my gosh, so much so. But first of all, Dalayna, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's a pleasure to be here, and congratulations on 5 years.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is amazing. Big
Thank you
celebration.
so much. Yes.
So yes, huge challenge. And so one of the things so Unbreakable Light for me is I take a flashlight and I shine that on a business's recruiting operations, and I help them unearth the pain that they're experiencing.
Yes.
And then I build strategies to help them turn that pain into gold.
And strategies are something that we all need, but tell us a little bit more about you and about Unbreakable Light, kind of how you got here to become the expert that you are in this area, but also in other areas as well.
Absolutely. So I got my start on this side of the house with employer branding and recruitment marketing back in 2013. I worked for a contact center solutions company, a very small company, and I was tasked with both marketing and recruitment marketing. And we didn't call it employer branding back then. We didn't know what that terminology was.
I like that term, though.
Yeah,
I do.
And so I realized through building strategies at that company for attracting talent that I loved the human side of marketing more so than the functional side of marketing. So business to business marketing wasn't my jam. And I was just so led more towards the human aspects of it. So I worked for that company, and then I worked for Hilton Global, and I was in their digital HR department, and I was the first employee hired under that umbrella, and they didn't call it employer branding either. It was digital HR, which was fascinating to me because no one calls it that.
Right.
And then after Hilton, I worked for BOK Financial here in Tulsa and was their VP of Talent Attraction here. I worked for Heartland out of Oklahoma City, and I was their senior manager of employer branding. In between that, during COVID, because I lost my job after COVID, I did a lot of consulting and partnered with a good friend of mine who has TalentNet Media run out of Dallas, Craig Fisher, and did a lot of projects for his clients and more behind the scenes on employer branding and recruitment strategy. And let's see, BECU, which is a major Boeing employees credit union, worked there, and I've been an employment and job coach too. I've had like 10 different layoffs in my career, so I've seen all sides of it.
Yeah.
And so that's a little bit of history.
You've seen every side of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Oh my gosh. So much good, so much bad, so much ugly.
Yes. So what led you to focus in on this problem? Because obviously I think it's interesting, like the way that you said Hilton, they called it digital recruitment. Is that what?
HR.
No, HR. Digital HR, because the whole point that you said you really loved was the human aspect. And I feel like that completely removed the feeling of the human aspect. But when it gets down to it, bringing that human aspect back into it, I think is probably what makes this, like, that's a superpower for you in this area.
Absolutely. And that's what Hilton did well, because even though it was called digital HR, we focused on internal employees as well and engaging them. So it was all the different digital aspects of how to engage talent internally and also externally.
So why do you feel like this is such a huge problem that businesses are facing, which I know is a layered question, but just from your perspective, what are some of the reasons that so many businesses struggle?
Well, I would say if you're a smaller business, a lot of smaller businesses, they may not have the funds to hire a consultant to come in and to help them figure out what those strategies are and help them attract talent. Although I disagree with that. It's a pretty reasonably priced compared to hiring an agency, maybe
Right.
like yourself or like a global agency,
Yeah.
which charges like $50,000 to $100,000 to build an employer value proposition or strategy.
Yeah.
And so it's just people don't know what they don't know,
hmm
and it's really putting yourselves in your candidate's shoes
Mm.
and figuring out what's most important to them and speaking their language.
Yes. Yeah. So do you feel like so many business owners, especially small business owners, because like you said, they might be the ones most of all who aren't doing this work, the strategy. It's more than just saying, "Oh, I need someone to fill lead cashier," and finding someone to do that. So, what is the strategy that people should be thinking through to be able to say, "Hey, here's our plan." What does that strategy even begin to look like?
So I think it's identifying those critical pain points. So if they're having a problem attracting
hmm
candidates, we talk to those candidates and say, hey, I know you applied with us and we offered you the job. Why didn't you take it? It's something as simple as that
Okay.
that could be done.
Yeah.
Being on the right platforms to reach them for social media. So if it's an hourly employee, that is probably TikTok. It's probably Facebook. It might be Instagram.
hmm
Hourly is not necessarily going to be on LinkedIn.
Right.
And it's talking about a day in the life. Like, what does that look like for an employee? And just sharing those stories.
Yeah.
Because people want to hear from people who they're going to be working for and working with, and to see what that's like. And it's not expensive to do
Right.
that, even if you are a small business. I mean, grab your cell phone and shoot a video.
Mm. That is such an interesting thing because that's something, especially since I do a lot with social media marketing, you might not realize the benefit of showing some of those behind the scenes because it might be attracting your future superstar employee.
Exactly.
That is so interesting. So even with that, there's a strategy behind posting those, what some might feel like is like a fun moment or a team, like your work team and moment. There's actually a bigger reason why that's important.
Absolutely.
So if someone was doing that, how often do you feel like they should be kind of showcasing that on the social media side of it? Because obviously if you do it every day, then it just becomes like, oh, these people don't take anything seriously.
Right.
They're just having too much fun. What do you think?
I would say it really depends on their hiring need. If there's
Mhm.
a critical hiring need and they need to hire, say, 10 or 12 people at one time,
Mhm.
then having the owner of the company shoot a video and then having an employee shoot a video and talk about what their day in the life looks like. I would say minimum once a week. You probably could get away with 2 times a week, maybe even 3,
Yeah.
as you're building that strategy.
That is such a good idea. I mean, I hadn't even thought about 100% thought in that realm of this is the strategy. What are your thoughts on I've seen some people ask their employees to do this. What are your thoughts on having employees do Google reviews or LinkedIn reviews, but more from the perspective of what it's like to work there versus their product or service or whatever?
So when I was at Hilton, I ran their global Glassdoor program, and so there's Glassdoor where employees can review companies. There's
Okay.
also Indeed where employees can review companies, and sure, Google as well. I think with reviews as a candidate from that perspective, always take those with a grain of salt.
Right.
And if you see a common theme within of dissatisfaction, then okay, that might be a red flag, a little bit of something to look out for if you do consider interviewing for that company, just to have a heads up on that. And so I've built strategies for companies so that they have their employees go out and do those reviews.
Mhm.
and that increases their rank when candidates are searching,
Yeah.
as well as their attraction to a candidate.
Now, I've heard these stats from different businesses of saying they were rated the nation's number whatever place to work. Where's that number coming from? Where do people come up with, oh, this is the top 10 place to work in the US?
For Glassdoor, they have a contest basically for all of the companies who are their customers. You don't have to be a client of Glassdoor's. It seems like a lot of Glassdoor's clients are in the top 10.
It's just, coincidentally.
Just coincidental. And so they have a whole philosophy around how they build that. It's an annual event award that they administer to the top CEO, and they do it for small, medium enterprise and small. And so even if a company only has 50 employees, they can, if they're a great place to work, be in that top 10 for Glassdoor. So it is possible. And so it's building, you have to have a strategy as an employer in order to land on that list.
Yeah. You don't get there by accident.
It's not by accident. It's not organic. It is, there's a strategy behind it.
What does it actually look like to build a brand that attracts talent? What does that mean? Is it because of all the benefits? Is it because of perks? What does that typically all entail?
So the way that I would like to look at it is, especially if you're a small business, just start with storytelling. Storytelling is so powerful. And tell the stories of your employees. Have your clients tell stories about you as well, because that will attract talent too. And so it's, I look at employer branding through the entire employee life cycle, which is everything from when a candidate applies to when they're exited from a company.
Right.
And most companies do not focus on the exit.
That's true. They're like, oh, they're gone. They're not on my team anymore. I'm done with them.
Exactly.
And sometimes in the most nice sense too.
And the way you treat people on the way out leaves a lasting impression.
Wow, that's so true.
And who's going to refer someone in to work for that company if they're treated poorly?
Yeah.
Probably no one.
Right.
And bad news travels fast.
Yes. Yes. Well, and that's honestly the greatest testament for someone who came to your company and left and are still recommending the company to other people.
Exactly.
That's huge.
We call them boomerangs.
Yeah. Well, I just hate that so many of those employee situations end badly. So what would it look like to have an exit strategy? Does that look like a checklist of, okay, this is the process? Because there's some logistical things I'm sure you kind of have to, okay, remove access from this, not because you don't like them and trust them, whatever, but they don't need access. What does that look like? A checklist? Does it look like some sort of order of operations? What does that look like?
So internally, they're going to have their own checklist on everything. Like you said, we need to remove their access to technology and whatever company materials they had previously. But it's treating people with dignity on the way out. And just even saying, I really appreciate the 3 years you spent here.
Yeah. Yeah.
You did a lot of good, and I'm sorry to see you go. I wish you well in your next adventure. Or if someone is laid off, that is a lot different experience because that's not expected.
Right.
And companies do need to have a checklist if they're going to lay people off. And as much as, just like, what is the process for applying for unemployment? What does that look like? And it's different in every state.
Yeah.
Right. But no one tells you that on the way out.
Wow. That's such a good point.
And that would have been so helpful to me when I was laid off previously. And just going through that, like, here's some resources for you. Like, I know you may, maybe you can't provide them, a company can't provide them with counseling or mental health services or anything, but it's putting something together that says, like, here's what you can expect after a layoff. I mean, it's literally like going through withdrawal from an addiction because you experience all of those different things.
Yeah, well, and I have to be honest and say I've left places of work, but I've never gone through it where the business had to lay people off. So I don't really know a lot about navigating that. But I love what you're saying of even if you can't provide that service for them, give them resources. It's the human aspect that you were talking about.
Exactly.
So what is that like on the receiving end of being laid off?
So I've had the good, the bad, and the ugly for layoffs.
Well, at least you had some good.
Yes. So I'll talk about the good. Let me think which company did it well. Okay, maybe not good. I'll just say marginal.
Yeah.
I've had bad. So that's probably the biggest one I can talk about here because that's the one I've had the most experience with. It was literally a 3-minute conversation.
Wow. And how long were you at that place?
3 years.
Yeah. You're 3 minutes for 3 years of your, dedication.
Not even a thank you. Appreciate everything you did while you were here. Nothing. And it doesn't matter like whether someone was laid off, they gave notice. I mean, I had from an enterprise, these were from enterprise companies, so they should know better.
Yes.
And another one that I had, I left on my own accord. And my boss at the time, she was like, feel free to go around the department and tell everybody that you're leaving. And then I found out from a friend of mine who was still there that it was 2 months later and they hadn't even told anybody I left.
Oh, wow. Well, see, okay, that's a very practical thing that I have seen, partnering with businesses. Because, partnering with businesses, I see businesses have to let people go or people leave by their own choice. What is the etiquette? Because I've had business owners make mention of something like that. Like, should I let it be them saying it? Like, do they want to be the ones to tell everyone, or should I say it for them? What do you think is the right move?
I think common courtesy is the employer or the boss letting people know.
Letting them know.
Letting other people on the team know that this person has given notice.
Yeah. Because also they are a part of the team. It's going to cause shifts for everybody.
Exactly.
For 2 months later not to know, that's a little bizarre.
Where they were like, hey, where's Carrie? Oh, she hasn't been there for 2 months.
Oh my goodness. Oh my word.
Enterprise company.
Yeah. And that's the reality is small business or large business, we all need this education and this awareness. Like you mentioned, not everyone can hire a professional to come in and consult, but at least let this conversation be putting it on your radar that this is something you need to think through, and probably not think through it when you need to hire or when you need to let someone go, but like think about it ahead of time.
Have a plan.
Yes. Have a
plan.
Build
a strategy.
Write it out.
In place. Yes. Write it out. Checks and balances all the way.
All the way. So what do you feel like is some of the key elements that makes a business attractive for talent? Like just some of the overarching things.
Health insurance is huge.
Yeah.
If a company can offer an employee, like especially paid health insurance, that is a number one differentiator.
Yeah.
Like you could probably work for a crappy manager if your health insurance is being paid for.
Well, honestly, I've heard people say I want to that they want to quit somewhere, but they won't because of the health care.
Because of the insurance.
Yes.
I know.
Yes, it's true. But if you can't offer health insurance, is there maybe something else that you could offer that would be at least somewhat helpful in that area?
Right. I mean, maybe it's building more of a community or supporting their community efforts outside. It can be as simple as giving them a day off to participate in charitable activities in town. Or so that's a perk that's easy for a company to offer, and it doesn't cost a lot of money.
Right.
Just having professionals work there and people who have integrity and are honest and ethical and be transparent with your employees.
Yes.
Like that is the biggest thing no matter what it is, what the situation is, what you have to announce or what type of news, just be transparent.
Right.
Because people will appreciate transparency. They won't appreciate things being hidden from them.
Well, and I have to say, and you can confirm or this, I feel like with younger generations, that's even amplified. Transparency is so important for younger workforce.
I would agree with that. And there's a lot of research out there that supports that.
Yeah.
So, absolutely.
I mean, I know how, me being a millennial, how I feel about it, but I've worked with both very transparent and very not transparent, and I can tell you what I prefer.
Well, and I'm sure you've seen it with clients too.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Whenever there is walls built up, it makes you wonder what's behind that. What's
Exactly.
behind that wall? So this really, a lot of it falls on leadership to make these decisions.
Absolutely.
And leaders are people are not just business owners. They're not just bosses. You know, we like to use the word boss a lot of times. But I think really putting it into perspective of leadership does also set it apart that people chose to work for you. And leadership is a lot of times what could attract them as well. And I know you can speak
Absolutely.
a lot to just leadership in general. What do you feel like great leadership really looks like today in the workplace?
I mean, lead by example. Treat people with respect. I would say clarity is kindness.
Yes, I love that. That is so true.
Just keep the human in human resources.
Right. And a lot of this does boil down to that. It really does. Treating that people that
It's
way.
not rocket science.
Right. Well, for some people, it might be. It might be. What do employees want? Do you feel like that a lot of employers are missing in their leadership?
Oh gosh, that is the younger generation probably having opportunities for learning and development.
Yeah. Yeah. Whether they've been to college or not been to college, I think that that's true. That resonates. To want to feel like there's movement and growth.
Absolutely.
What are ways that employers can provide those opportunities for growth and development?
I would say if you're a small business, like say you have 10 employees or maybe you have 25, you can cross train.
Yeah.
And that's an opportunity for employees to learn different skill sets.
I think we can oftentimes fall into the place of just hiring for a specific need, and then whenever you find that talent to come in and do that, they feel after a while it might be okay, but then at some point they're like, okay, I want to do something more.
Exactly. Or if you hire them and you find out that they have a very specific skill set, like maybe they know how to edit videos.
Yeah.
Now, don't put that on top of their their true job.
Yes.
Take advantage of that, but in a good way.
Yeah.
And let them be creative.
That's a good point, because a lot of times that gets put on top. Oh, well, since you're here.
And then if you can give them something, maybe it's not monetary, but maybe it's like a gift card to their favorite restaurant or something. Give them something in exchange for providing that service, because people love to be creative, and so many people have talents outside of what they're hired for, and when they're not able to use those talents, then they become indifferent or stagnant, and they're yearning for more. So just give them a little bit of runway and see what they're capable of.
That's so good. Give them a little bit of runway. I like that. I like that a lot. So I'm going to give you a little pop question here. What are some of the biggest hiring mistakes you've seen?
Well, Dalayna, I have a candidate experience I can share with you.
Yes.
So I went through, and so I met a company. I went to a job fair, and I truly do believe in the power of job fairs and meeting people face to face, especially in a community like a city the size of Tulsa. Like the more face to face you can have with people, the better.
Yeah.
And so I went to a job fair. Almost didn't go to the job fair. I went to a job fair. I almost got sideswiped on the way to
Oh
the
my
job
word.
fair. So that was interesting. So I went into it with a lot of adrenaline and met some people who had a table there, and they were hiring for a specific role. I won't mention the
Yeah.
role or the company.
Yeah.
And had a great conversation. And the person followed up with me the very next week, like he said he would. I had my first interview, went great. Second interview was scheduled, that went great. Everything up until the offer.
Mm.
And it was a Friday morning, and I received this email, and it said, "Thank you so much for applying. We have decided to go in a different direction." And I was like, okay, well, I'm really disappointed because I was so excited about that role, and it really fit on so many different levels. And so I emailed the person and I said, could I get some clarification on why I wasn't chosen? I always take this as a learning opportunity,
Right.
which I encourage candidates to do. If they're
Yes.
not selected, go ahead and at least ask.
Yeah.
Because if you don't ask, you won't know.
100%.
And so he replied almost immediately and said, wait, HR contacted you? I'll give you a call later this afternoon. And I thought, well, that's interesting. But maybe he's gonna be courteous and call me and tell me why I wasn't chosen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's the phone call I was expecting. And it was around lunchtime, and I got this phone call, and he said, first off, I want to apologize. You never should have gotten that email from HR. And I said, okay. And he said, we want to offer you the job. And so it was, low emotions
Yeah.
first thing. Oh, wait, low emotions first thing in the morning to like high around noon because I
Right.
was offered the job. And then after that, it was even worse with like the drug screen and trying to find the lab, and just it was a mess from offer to and onboarding was a mess.
Yeah.
So, what could they have done better?
Yeah.
More communication. Obviously, they had a challenge on their end.
Do you think it was like a clerical error that you got that initial?
No, they were down one person in HR.
Okay.
I think
Okay.
someone had left.
Uh-huh.
And so balls were dropped.
Yeah. Yeah. And instead of maybe did they explain that, or was it just like confusion?
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit. And in retrospect, I should have seen that as
Right.
maybe this is not in alignment with
Mhm.
where you need to go next. I don't have any regrets in doing
Right.
the job, and I did gain experience and provided a ton of value. However, sometimes when things happen like that,
Yeah.
like you have to listen to your intuition
Yeah.
or listen to your gut
Yeah.
as a candidate and say, well, if it was that messed up,
Right.
this is probably what I'm going to expect
Mm-hmm.
when I work there.
Yeah. If there's already friction and speed bumps, then this is a demo of how they kind of operate things. Yeah.
Exactly. And I outgrew that job so fast.
Yeah. So, okay, what are some of the practical, being on the receiving end of all of that, the practical things they could have done to make that experience better was more communication and clarity.
More communication and clarity. They probably did not have a checklist on their side.
There you go. They just didn't have a plan probably.
They didn't have an actual, they weren't dedicated to recruiting operations excellence.
Right.
And in order to do that, you have to have strategies, and you have to have policies and procedures and standard operating procedures, and everybody has to follow it.
Yeah.
So if Joan gets hit by a bus, then
Yes.
Jeff can jump in the next day.
So true. That is just another example of why it's so important to have these things written out in how you're going to do them, because just like that, they were down a person. And so maybe giving them the benefit of the doubt, maybe that's the only reason it didn't go well. But that's enough reason to say it's clear that they did not have a plan in place.
Exactly.
Okay, so maybe you have another story for this one. Maybe. If not, you can just speak to it. But what is one of the biggest retention mistakes that companies make to keep good talent? When you get good talent in the door, how do you keep them?
Oh gosh, I would say if someone is leaving, if you try and counteroffer,
Mm,
because they may stay, but they're not going to stay long.
yeah.
Or from the studies I've seen, it's either the person doesn't stay long after that, or the company ends up getting rid of them or pushing them out shortly after that because there's resentment on
Yeah.
one or both sides.
Yeah. Which is something we haven't really talked about yet is the reason you would probably want to offer is because it costs money to get good people in there. How much is that costing people and what is the, cost per investment? What are you getting from that investment?
Right. It's substantial financially. So pay them their worth
Yes.
when they start.
Yeah. Because if you lose them, you're going to have to invest that probably more to get someone else that's quality.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's definitely worth keeping. I love that idea of a counter offer. So do you feel like you should do a counter offer, whether that be to stay a little longer or maybe to stay while you train someone else, or what would that look like?
Oh no, I would say don't do a counter.
Don't do a counter
Don't
offer. Don't do a counter offer because they will not.
They're
It won't
gonna
be
they're gonna
productive.
leave. They're
Okay.
gonna leave anyway.
So then your only thing to prevent them from leaving is to continue to give them those opportunities for growth and development, to pay them what they're worth.
Pay their insurance.
Pay their insurance if you have to.
Perks, some other perks of the job. Just do things to engage your employees.
Yeah.
And keep them wanting to work there and to be your champions.
Yeah. So this is something that whenever I was before Signify, so before 5 years ago, when I was working as a marketing manager inside a business, one thing that I was exploring, which this is, I'm not an expert in this stuff, but it was just things like you're talking about, I would see having people that I was leading and everything like that, is while we couldn't offer insurance, there were other things that we would even collaborate with local businesses to offer them. Maybe a gym membership, work with a discounted rate so that we could say, hey, you can get half off at this membership. What could that look like? Getting creative, thinking outside of the box for the businesses who maybe can't offer those high price tag benefits.
That's a great idea. And a lot of companies do that, and they do it very well. More like rewards and loyalty.
Yeah.
Here's some perks of working for us. You can get a discount at whatever local coffee shop, or
Right. Yeah.
Here's $5 Chick-fil-A gift card. They have to more like 10 nowadays. But
Yeah. Gotta boost it up a little bit.
even for Starbucks, like here's a $5 Starbucks gift card. It's like, that's not going to buy me anything. Give me a $10 Starbucks.
It's got to be 10. It's a $10 minimum these days, people.
Right? So yeah, I love the idea of thinking outside the box and working with local businesses in the community to get involved, and those businesses will then get to know their employees as well.
Right. When I've seen people that are in like a shopping center, they might get together with the other ones and be like, hey, we're all going to offer each other's employees some perks. So
Yeah, I love that.
just getting creative. All right. Practical. What are 3 things business owners should fix immediately?
I think all 3 go to recruiting operations excellence. So candidate experience, number 1. Number 2, look for the quick wins, the easy things that can be done, like candidate communication.
Yeah.
Quick win.
Yeah.
Really easy, especially if they're using an applicant tracking system. Maybe they are, maybe they're not, but just to make sure that they're looking at improving whatever those pain points are for candidates. So I would say there's 3 within the candidate experience and just helping out with that journey. So number 1, candidate communication. Number 2, just transparency. Number 3, educate the candidate on what the process is.
Oh, yeah.
Is there just one interview?
Yeah.
Are there 2? Are there 3? Who else will you be meeting? What does that look like? And for gosh sakes, don't ask them to do a project and don't pay them for it.
Oh wow. Listen, that can send me up a
Yes.
wall. It's
Yes.
frustrating.
So I would say like all three for me would fall on the candidate experience.
Yeah.
And another bucket would be storytelling. Just get your owner on video or telling stories, get your employees telling stories, get your customers telling stories, because that will help attract talent as well.
Yeah. Storytelling is not going out of style. Never.
Get them on TikTok.
Hey, we need the TikToks for that. That alone. All right. So what are some things that you're still seeing businesses struggle with that okay, we talked about how COVID was a hard hit and we're recovering from that. What are now that we're kind of like coming out of the ashes, it is 2026. What are we still struggling with that maybe we've just has hung on since COVID?
Oh gosh. I know. I mean, I've heard that people say, and this is probably older generations, that like Gen Z and millennials that they don't want to work.
I've heard that. I've heard that a couple million times.
Yes. And I don't think that's the case. They don't want to settle working for a company where they're not respected.
Yes. I wish I could clap and not like make this microphone go crazy because that is so true. I agree with you. They do want to work.
They do want to work, but they want to feel valued.
Yes. Yes.
And not just like a number.
Yeah. So changing that, even if you're in a large business, you got to change that.
You have to have a good internal culture first, and then that radiates outward because your employees will become your spokespeople, and even implementing an employee advocacy strategy where you do give them the tools and the training to talk about the company externally and what that looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so good. They want to be valued. They don't want to be a number. I love that. Okay, so before we close, I always ask this question, but it relates more to your business specifically. So we always ask the question, what do you not have fully figured out but are building through anyway? So in the concept of your business, it's, you work with other people's businesses, so you're like championing them, but focusing on you and the business that you're building for a lot of different areas: keynote speaking, inspiring, encouraging, and also helping businesses in these areas. What are some things that you don't have fully figured out but you're building through anyway?
Oh gosh. Always learning.
Always learning. Always learning.
I have not networked that much in Tulsa.
Because where are you originally from?
Originally from Madison, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Moved here from Dallas. And I was in Dallas for just shy of 14 years. And I've been here for about 8.
Okay.
And I had remote jobs when I was here. So there wasn't a huge need for me to get out into the community and to network with people. I'm an introvert. I know it's hard to believe. And so like you can throw me on a stage where there's 1,000 people in the audience and I am in my element. Yeah. I'm in my comfort zone. If you put me in a room full of 300 people and say, okay, network and get to know people, like that's my kryptonite. I'm like, oh.
I think a lot of people could relate to that, though.
Please help.
It can be a little intimidating.
So that's a little bit intimidating. So I'm looking to meet more people, more business owners here in the Tulsa area, and to get to know them and what they're passionate about and how we might be able to collaborate on something. I was recently did a presentation for Creative Mornings, which was at Gradient, and that was a new opportunity for me to share my story.
Yeah.
And so I had a near-death experience. I'm a brain aneurysm survivor. And so I'm looking for different ways where I can help impact people and help them turn whatever it was, whatever that pain was, whatever that trauma was, into gold, and to really have that radical self-acceptance whether that is like one-on-one coaching, whether it's giving a presentation to employees of a business,
Right.
anything like that. I want to give back to humanity in that way and help people heal. And so that's probably been one of my biggest struggles so far, is just trying to figure out, okay, who should I meet in Tulsa? Where are those events? What events should I be attending? Where should I be hanging out to
Yeah.
meet those people? And I would say that's probably one of the biggest challenges right now, because I do want to become more well known in Tulsa versus Dallas. I'm super networked in Dallas.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a lot of business owners have to make those decisions of where is the best use of my time. And networking is a huge thing. You could literally network every single day of the week.
Oh, absolutely.
But it has to be, you have to figure out, what's the best, what scenarios, best formats, best for me to use my time in that way. So that's good. Okay, so if people want to connect with you online, they want to, maybe they're like, listen, I need this woman to come in and help me. Where can they find you online?
Great question, Dalayna. So I spend 99% of my time on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And you can find me under Carrie Corcoran. I also have a YouTube channel, and you can find me under Unbreakable Light on YouTube. I share tips and tricks for employer branding, especially heavy on the candidate experience side. I do connect with people on Facebook. I have a public profile. If you send me a friend request, just let me know who you are and how you found me. And if you do have any opportunities for speaking to your group, I would be honored to do that for you.
Yeah, I'm going to have to hear that story. I'm going to have to hear that story that you shared recently. Got to listen to it.
Absolutely.
That's good. So reach out to her, connect with her. Definitely hit her up on YouTube. She has all of that great content there. But that is it for this session of the back office. If this conversation gave you clarity, a new angle, or even just a reminder that you're not the only one navigating this, then it did its job. Take what's useful, apply it, move on it. No one has it fully figured out, but we're building anyway. And if you found this valuable, share it with another operator who is building. And you can always hang out with us in between sessions at Signify Marketing Social. I'm Dalayna Dillon, and we will see you back here next time.